Since the end of the Gulf War and the failed uprising against Saddam Hussein, a terrible human tragedy is unfolding here in the marshes on the border of southern Iraq and Iran. A tragedy unreported by most of the world's press. Thousands of marsh Arabs have been killed and tens of thousands more face almost certain death, trapped in a ring of steel created by Saddam's army just beyond the levee road on the horizon there, the Iraqi border. These people are Shia Muslims. The Shia constitute the majority of the people of Iraq, but they've been relentlessly persecuted since the beginning of the regime. This is their story, and it's the story of the 2 short years since the end of Operation Desert Storm, when the Allies abandoned the people of Iraq to their fate.
There's another way for the bloodshed to stop, and that is for the Iraqi military and the Iraqi people to take matters into their own hands and force Saddam Hussein, the dictator, to step aside and rejoin the family of peace-loving nations. We have no argument with the people of Iraq. Our differences are with that brutal dictator in Baghdad.
The time was when Saddam's Iraq was never off our TV screens. Desert Storm was to be the setting for a new world order, and the world's media were marshalled to record the triumph. But since the Gulf War, for the people of Iraq who tried to fight Saddam, it's been a different story. Our triumph has been their tragedy. In a mosque in West London, Iraqi Shia exiles weep on their day of lamentation, a ritual banned in their own country. It tells the story of the death of their Imam Hussein 1300 years ago, surrounded by a tyrant's army, denied water, slaughtered with his women and children at Karbala. The lament for Karbala speaks for the present as well as for the past. It speaks for the disasters which have befallen the Shia since the Gulf War, when their sacred cities were devastated by Saddam. It's about the country they have lost. A lament for the South. Every Shia holds in his or her heart a visionary landscape. For the Shia faith arose in the biblical Garden of Eden, the land of the 2 rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, whose waters nourished the first civilization on earth. Surrounded by the palm forests of the Euphrates, Karbala lies in the plain of southern Iraq. Hussein's shrine is revered by Muslims everywhere, but especially by the world's 150 million Shia. In the old days, the days before Saddam, you'd see pilgrims coming here in their millions from as far away as Persia, Afghanistan and India. At the end of the Gulf War, encouraged by President Bush, the Shia rose against Saddam's tyranny. And here at Karbala, Saddam took savage revenge. There were no TV cameras here to record what happened, only this extraordinary amateur videotape shot by 2 brothers, one of whom was killed. Their pictures show the climax of the Shia rebellion at the end of March. The revolt had almost succeeded, but Saddam's Republican Guard and their tanks had been left intact by the Allies. and in the end the rebels were hopelessly outgunned. The city is now surrounded. With time running out and no hope of escape, a last embrace. Inside Hussein's shrine, desperate women and children can only call on God now to help them. Most of these people are about to die.
المجاهدين الأبطال توجهوا بكافة أسلحتكم لتطويق الدبابات والقوة المعادية ومنعهم من التسلل إلى الدور والسكنات.
Inside the shrine, in a makeshift hospital, volunteer doctors and nurses are struggling to cope with the casualties. Outside, Saddam's tanks can be seen creeping up the main street. The final assault has begun.
ومنعهم من التسلل إلى الدور